Republicans now have a majority in the Senate with 53 seats. Democrats have 47. But come November, their power, as Sungmin was saying, could be at risk. According to the Cook Political Report, polls show Republican incumbents Martha McSally of Arizona and Cory Gardner of Colorado vulnerable with their races, now leaning toward the Democrats. Could be a toss-up for other GOP senators, such as David Perdue of Georgia, Joni Ernst of Iowa, Susan Collins of Maine, and Tom Tillis of North Carolina. Even Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina and Kelly Loeffler of Georgia are in tight races. Those lean Republican. So if the Democrats are going to be healthcare, 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 how does this affect the Senate map?
Yeah, I think we're all still trying to game that out, and so are the people who run these campaigns. There's kind of two schools of thought here. One, that it's probably not a great situation for Cory Gardner in Colorado, who's in big trouble in a state that doesn't like Trump. Arizona may already be lost. Susan Collins, of course, was at the center of the Kavanaugh fight. Some people think, well, maybe this can help Susan Collins, who is opposed to moving forward, separate herself from Trump. But we'll have to see about that. People think it could help some lagging Republicans. Tom Tillis in North Carolina lets him tie himself tighter to Trump. I've heard Republican strategists say to me, it's basically going to be a Tillis-Barrett ticket down there and in other states. So right now, though, I think that Democrats are probably remaining in a pretty good position to take the majority. It's interesting, Bob, you know, there's two things that Mitch McConnell really likes. He likes being majority leader, and he likes putting conservative judges on the court. Are these things in conflict this time? I think we're going to find out by the end of the confirmation and the election.
Nina, this is the battleground right now, but the court, broadly speaking, is becoming a battleground in American life. We saw today House Democrats are thinking about proposing legislation to have 18-year term limits on Supreme Court justices. When you look at the fight over Coney Barrett, when you look at the court as an institution, what are the challenges right now moving forward?
Well, I think that's a story that's yet to be told. You know, 6 months ago, if you would have said that term limits, adding justices to the court, rotating justices on and off the court, that would be a live possibility, we would have all thought you were mad. And I'm not prepared to say that this is a sure bet. But if Coney Barrett is confirmed and the court moves decidedly to the right, and for example, strikes down Obamacare, strikes down other pieces of legislation that might be enacted by a Democratic Congress and signed by a Democratic president, then you're in a whole different ballgame. And then there's the possibility, of course, that the election is very close and that it ends up before the Supreme Court. And what if the Supreme Court votes again against the person who carried the popular vote? This is, you know, a powder keg that we're talking about.
Sungmin, when you saw our Cook Political Report information there, and you saw all the different races that are now pretty much up for grabs, when you're talking to Democrats, who do they see as possible Republicans they could peel off?
In terms of, if you're talking about Democrats who, where Democrats feel good about these races, it's like what Carl said earlier. They think that, you know, this hurts people in, you know, in these purple/blue leaning states such as Colorado and Maine. But you have seen this, the Democratic Senate candidates who clearly do have the momentum right now, even in these purple/leaning red states, still be very careful around the issue, because you know that this is an issue. The Supreme Courts are such a polarizing, toxic issue. It really does make people put on their partisan jerseys. And a lot of these Democratic Senate candidates do need crossover voters. You know, in North Carolina, there does need to be that Trump-Cunningham voter, or Cal Cunningham, the Democrat there, needs to appeal to that kind of voter as well. So some of the changes that are being proposed that Nina discussed just a few minutes ago, such as expanding the number of seats or whatnot, while there are certainly threats from some lawmakers and definitely from the base, it is far from assured that even if Judge Coney Barrett is confirmed, that these changes will be enacted in 2021 or even ever.
Carl, can you follow up on that? I see you whispering to Senate Democrats I won't name in the hallways of the Capitol. Is there an appetite next year if Biden wins the White House to pack the court?
I think that they're going to be under a lot of pressure from the left to do something. But Bob, as you know, the first step to that is all, what do you do about the filibuster? That you would have to eliminate the filibuster in a narrowly divided Senate to enact these kind of changes. And I think it starts with that, and you have to see where that progresses. You know, who thought a few years ago, all these senators who had said they would never do a Supreme Court nomination again, Republican senators in a presidential year, well, they've flipped. You know, you could have Democrats right now who aren't talking about this, who might say later on, well, circumstances have changed and we need to do it. They are alarmed right now, though, about talking too much about this subject during the campaign. You know, they need moderate voters. Republicans think this turns off moderate voters. They're really pushing Democrats on that. I think that if the Democrats win the Senate and the White House next year, you'd see a lot of activity, but first around the filibuster and then see what happens from there.